Escrow Out Loud is a weekly podcast about San Francisco real estate from the Jackson Fuller team, San Francisco Realtors since 2002. Show notes with links are at jacksonfuller.com. This episode's guest has been featured in publications like Gentry Home on more than one occasion and recognized for his talents with an award from the American Society of Interior Designers. His career began in graphics and branding at a small design and architecture firm in Atlanta before arriving in San Francisco, where he honed his skills in design and project management for 7 years at a global design firm. A decade ago, he launched his own boutique residential design firm. With over 2 decades of experience and a relentless pursuit for unique concepts, say hello to this episode's guest and my dear friend, Kevin Sawyers of Sawyers Design. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. San Francisco, of course, we're great.
You want it ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go here. First home you bought, where was it?
It was on Noe Street between 14th and Beaver in the best part of Triangle.
It was 2 beds, 1 bath, approximately...
Less than 2,000 square feet, probably.
Oh, less than 2,000 square feet.
1,200? I don't know.
I think about that. Okay. How'd you find your realtor?
We're working at Apple with my husband at the time, and we were all friends, and that's how we connected with you.
And we still are.
Yeah.
So, and I'll answer the next question for you. Did you use the same realtor when you sold the house? You sure did. You
again
worked with
at the next house, and again at the next house.
You are awesome to work with every time. And it is amazing to see what you do with the homes that you have lived in over the years. You have an incredible artistic vision. You are phenomenal at what you do as an interior designer. And I'm so psyched that you're here talking with our listeners today. But before we get to Sawyers Design, let's talk about you in San Francisco.
Okay.
So aesthetically speaking, what's your favorite building in San Francisco, or do you have one?
Oh, gosh, this is going to be a really hard... Well, I'm a fan of the Salesforce building. So Let's just go ahead and get that out there, and so people can rail on me or will do whatever they want.
There's the distinct, 2 camps in this town right now. Yeah. Either you love it or you hate it. Yeah. However, every new building we get in San Francisco, everyone hates it. Yeah. Like, at least there's always a good chunk of haters. I mean, when we got the new DeYoung and Golden Gate, everyone hated that for a while. And now they're like, oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, back to you. Salesforce Tower. You like it?
Yeah. There's a building down on Market Street. It's all black. And if you look at the top of it, it is the hottest mess that it's just such a hot mess. And then you look past that to the Salesforce building. And I wonder how people look past that, have no comments about it. And then they look at this iconic building, the Salesforce, and have so much to say about it.
So all black on Market. Market and what? Like Market and 10th? Nema.
Yeah.
Darth Vader's rentals.
I like it from the ground, but if you're looking at it from a distance, it's horrible.
So do you follow city architecture and kind of...
Loosely, somewhat.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when the city published like citywide design guidelines for buildings and what planning thought people should be building in various neighborhoods? When I read that document, I'm just doing this all from memory, it basically came across as like, please build pretty much anything, but not Nema.
Oh, really?
Like they were talking about, encouraging, softer shades of stone that are more in keeping with like the San Francisco Bay, like they have all of these interesting things, but like they were just like, no black glass. But anyway.
Yeah, I disagree with that. It's just like the Salesforce Tower. You need something that's so sleek and modern to be a foil against something that's so intricate and detailed. And there are all kinds of buildings in San Francisco. There will be more in San Francisco later that, make us forget all about Salesforce. But I don't know, there needs to be a little bit of here and a little bit of there. It just would be nice if things were done... I don't know, maybe if you build a little bit less building, but do it better, what you do.
One of the paradoxes of San Francisco to me and our buildings has always been, for a town that really celebrates individual diversity and being unique and as different as you want to be, that doesn't seem to carry over into architecture here.
I mean, for me personally, we're doing a home remodel, and one of the things that was dictated is that we had to keep a gable roof because we're number 4 in 5 houses that have gable roofs. So no matter what we wanted to do, even this house, the front of the house was built in the 1980s, which wasn't that long ago, they made us maintain the gable.
Because when it was, if I recall correctly, when that expansion was done, like late 70s, early 80s, they were adding a gable to something that was not gabled, right? It was kind of like an Italiate Victorian on the back, very square, that they pushed way, way forward.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if, like, you know, that was the architect's choice, or if he was forced to do it by planning, who said, like, if you want to go forward, give us a gable.
Well, I would imagine it was the architect's choice, because the architect was the owner. And
well, I mean, I'm just curious, like, if planning way back then gave him any.
I have no idea.
But it was also such a different neighborhood, you know, back then. I mean, back when you lived on Noe Street, one of the things I love about that section of Noe Street that you lived on were the big wooden planters that were installed and all the trees and the bulb outs and the sidewalks. And that work was actually done in the 70s by the city to deal with urban blight.
Right.
You know, and thinking about that block of Noe and DuBose Triangle being urban blight just kind of rocks the mind. Anyway. We've gone off on a tangent.
I know.
Aesthetically speaking, let's go the opposite direction of buildings in San Francisco. Is there a particular outdoor space or place that you really love to be in San Francisco?
Well, I'm sure there's tons of places in Golden Gate Park that I'm sure lots of people like to go to. But there's one place that a lot of people don't know about, and that's at the De Young Museum. Back in the corner of their yard, the courtyard, is the Terrell Sky Space.
The outdoor sculptural gallery?
Yeah.
It's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm so shocked that more people don't know about it. Now, whenever somebody asks me what to do and where to go, I always direct them to go there, because it's just such a piece of, I don't know, it's just such a moment to walk in that little space and be in such a calm environment.
In the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I loved DuBose Triangle when we lived there. It was just a little pie slice of something different in the city. It was unique. It has changed since then. What?
Every neighborhood
10 years
does?
ago? Yeah.
So would you say that's your favorite SF neighborhood?
Probably. You know, they're all so different. You know, Glen Park is very different from any other area in the city. Cole Valley. But, you know, the point is, I think that they're all neighborhoods in themselves, and they all have a distinct personality, and you can drive 5 minutes and you're in a completely different, you know, they're all individuals. So,
or you could walk 5 minutes at this point and get farther than you could if you were in the car.
This is true. Or take public transportation, which I've started doing again lately.
Congratulations. Go you.
Yeah.
So it's often faster than having to deal with cars these days between traffic and parking.
Well, we moved. I was working out of my home. We're doing the remodel I was talking about, and now we're working at a WeWork space downtown. So getting back into the flow of public transportation and kind of like feeling like we're part of the city again is pretty interesting. And then, you know, if I'm going to the design center, I actually take the bus. So I'm really loving seeing those different parts of the city from that point of view again.
You do experience so much more of the city, both good and bad, for better and worse, like out when you're walking and using transit versus kind of just being in the bubble of your car. Mm-hmm. So completely agree. Speaking of like San Francisco and all of these neighborhoods and pieces, you see a lot of the city, you see it from a lot of perspectives. If you could change one thing, one real estate law, Kevin Sawyers design, magic wand, what would it be?
I think it's a bigger picture kind of thing where the people who are making these decisions about the aesthetics of the city and what's built, where it's built, how much public space, you know, all of those should be maybe influenced by people who have a background in those areas as opposed to public officials. There are, you know, when you go to the San Francisco Building Department, there are architects, engineers, and people of that sort who are checking drawings and things like that, but they're not the ones who are dictating the rules completely. So I would say, you know, let's get a city planner who knows what city planning is. Let's get people involved who are passionate about what the city looks like and how it operates.
Right. So I'm hearing, you know, that there's too much involvement from planning, from the board of supervisors, mm-hmm. and ultimately actually on some of our projects at the ballot box, mm-hmm. right? And there does seem to be, everyone in this town is entitled to a say on everyone else's project. It starts with planning and, design guidelines, discretionary review. It's a laundry list and then some, yes. How do you navigate it?
You have to be patient and you have to have money.
So
2.5 to 3 years later, after we started the process for planning our home remodel, 2.5 to 3 years and about $20,000 to $30,000 later, we were able to actually start the remodel.
And this is a straightforward single-family home.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm sure your neighbors had requests or asks, I don't think anyone actively opposed it, right? You never had to go to discretionary review or deal with an appeal or any of those other pieces for you.
No.
Like that amount of time and amount of money is actually pretty good for a lot of projects, unfortunately.
The footprint of the building is barely changed at all. We did a cantilevered piece out in the front of the building that added a deck on. The biggest issue was in the back because our house is built way back in the lot.
Yeah,
we had to go through the variance process first before we could go through permitting.
You had to get a variance for something that already existed.
Yes. Could change the roof line up to push it up 1 foot.
Before we get to changing the roof line, so let's say they didn't give you the variance. Like, what does that mean? Like, are they going to come red tag the structure as it exists? I mean, it's ridiculous.
We would have
like it was built.
Yeah, but we would have had to have stayed inside the envelope of that house for the change. No roof line change, no wall could move at a certain point in the lot.
Wow.
From there back, you couldn't change anything on the exterior except the cladding of the building.
Wow.
Yeah, we basically went up and created a little more mass on top of the building so that we could have living space up there, not just like lofty spaces. So what we ended up doing was we took a chunk from part of the building back there off so that we could add it to the top. So we traded mass for mass.
Right.
And that's how we got it through.
3 years later.
Yeah.
So let's pivot now kind of from San Francisco to what you're incredibly good at, which is interior design. You own your own design firm, Sawyers Design. How did it come to be?
Well, I studied interior architecture and design in college, but then I wanted to expand a little bit my experiences. So I went into it's called experiential graphics now. It was called environmental graphics. So it's graphics for the built environment. So a lot of architecture firms have a experiential graphics portion studio. And so I went into that as an internship and did it for 10 years and then decided to go back to interior architecture, interior design. And then I've been doing that on my own for 10 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a lifetime
in
this city.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first project was?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty big one. It was an entire house, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. We remodeled the bathroom, the kitchen. It was
in Midtown Terrace,
like home that you sold to the client. Yeah, I was really lucky. There were structural changes and complete gut. It was like a dream to get that as a first project. And thank you, the person who hired me, for trusting me to do that.
You did it. It came out amazing. It's so fun to see homes in that neighborhood.
It's still in my portfolio, and I love it.
Yeah. So since that first project, has the world of interior design or what clients expect, or has the nature of the job changed a lot, or is it very much the same? Or
well, living here, I have a lot of tech clients, and I think I've learned how to navigate that world a little bit better. I think that a lot of times those clients really sometimes they want the full details of how everything works and how everything comes to be. And it's a different mindset from the mind of an interior designer. So they're intrigued by my process. So it's kind of like an interesting teaching process.
Where right brain hits left brain.
Yeah, sometimes. But then I've also discovered how many people basically function in both those sides, and they don't even realize it sometimes. Engineering is creative, I think. So it's an art in itself.
It is. It's just not a social art, right? It's a very, you're in there in your own world in some ways. So kind of along that line, I don't know if this is related or not, but what's kind of the most unexpected or strangest part of your job?
I know you've heard this before, though, but the whole part about being a marriage counselor. It is interesting.
Tell me more.
Yeah. It's less, the really weird ones are the ones that, couples that argue for sport and you're in the middle of it.
Well, yeah. Or, I mean, one of the interesting client types I never expected to work with over the years or knew existed was like, it's not a deal until there's yelling. Right. Like there's for some folks until like there's tears and screaming, they're just not sure if it's worth it. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, stemming from that, I do love the psychology of interior design and
psychology of interior design.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Break it down for me.
I think the biggest thing for me is being able to kind of hone in on a person's personality, figure out who they are, and then how to relate that in their interiors. I mean, not every interior designer does that, but it is one of my selling points is that I want to convey you and what you want and how you want to live in your space. That's why all of my jobs actually have a very different look to them. Each one from the next is conveying a different personality altogether. So
when you're meeting with someone and you sit down and you're like, what would you like? And they kind of say like, I want option A. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at them and you've got this sense of them and you're like, that's cool. But really you're an option C person and you would be happier in an option C environment. Like what's the process of getting someone to see that possibility, or is there not? And you just go with A.
Well, most of the time people don't have that option. People don't have an idea of what they want.
Okay.
I always say the client that I want, the person I want to work with is the person who's poised for change. And I think that's what people bring usually when they're looking for an interior designer. They're ready to make a change in their life or mix things up, or they just want to live a different way. And they may not know what that means visually. So they're looking for me to bring that to them. And it's all about, conversation, listening to what they have to say, understanding how they entertain or just live on the daily. If you don't have dinner parties all the time, do you even need a dining room? That kind of thing.
Well, it's fun. It's like I have probably a third of the clients I will show homes to are like formal dining rooms are a waste.
Yeah.
Just straight up, like they can't, it's not their life. It never will be. They have no interest. But for other people, it's kind of like, if there's no formal dining room, it's not a house.
Right. And some people need that visual. It makes it a home. Even if they don't have those dinner parties, it's there. The option, the idea, the fantasy of it is there. And they can walk by it every day and have that in their head.
Right. I remember once going to a friend's house and the living room, you weren't allowed to go in. Right. It was like the show living room that was used for like pictures and formal occasions like once a year. Yeah. And it just like boggled my mind. Right. Because, I ran like a screaming banshee through every room in my house as a child.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that exists anymore. That really is like a really old idea. And especially in a city like San Francisco, where space is there's no additional space anywhere. We want to utilize every room in our house and to its fullest potential. So, at least most people.
I guess that's like how you show off you're really insanely wealthy is you've got rooms you don't even let people in, right?
Yeah. And there's something to be said for that. I like designing for that as well. But anyway, back to...
It's just a different experience. It comes back to being at peace in your space and how you use it and what you do with it. And absolutely. So let me ask you an unfair question. When designing for space, what makes a bigger difference? Texture or color?
Oh.
I told you it was unfair.
Texture or color. Well, I'm a huge color fan. So, you could really influence a room with color. I like darker, richer, deeper colors, so you feel kind of enveloped in it. You can make a wall feel like it's 5 feet closer to you or 5 feet further away from you by the color you choose. So I think that's a bigger difference.
I will say you are a man of bold color choices. I am like the person who's not allowed to have the crayon box because I don't know what to do with that many colors. They scare me. And you have a beautiful sense of color. When some of the homes you've staged that we've sold over the years, you've used far darker colors than we normally use. And it always just comes off amazing. So not that you're in the staging business, but you've done it a couple times and worked with some people and picked colors, and always amazing.
Yeah. Well, just like with interior design trends, there's definitely trends in staging. And I usually just listen to the professionals when it comes to that. So yeah, it's a fun thing to play around with, and it's one of my favorite things. But interestingly, in my own home, it's probably going to be mostly white. And I think that's because...
This time.
Right. And it's just a place for me to get away from all of that.
I mean, it's a lot of glass that's go around too, right? A lot of white, a lot of glass. Mm-hmm. So
there will be splashes of color.
Yeah.
But
it's not going to be cold.
No.
No. So when someone's thinking about hiring an interior designer, right? Like in my business, they go down to the bookstore, they buy a book, like Real Estate for Whoever, read some chapters, get the advice, or heck, I don't know, maybe they don't even buy the book anymore, they just go online. Mm-hmm. When folks are, I don't know if you've got the same kind of experience in your industry, but like, do you think are some important questions people should think about before, sitting down with an interior designer they want to interview, or some questions they might want to ask that, you would say are going to help them get more out of the process?
I would definitely ask them how they manage time and money. You want to move back in your project, into your home when it's at the finish line, and you want to have paid the right amount of money, the budget that you have, you want to make sure that it isn't exceeded by much.
When you say, how do you manage time and money, right? That's a pretty open-ended question that, like, as a professional could be answered in a lot of ways. Like, what are you looking for? Like, what's the red flag there? Or what's the concern, or kind of where have you seen problems over like that mismatch?
Well, none in my business.
I'm not talking about your business, of course. No. Theoretically speaking.
It's just design can take I used to call it spinning. So there's a creative process in design, but I need a deadline.
Right.
And sometimes we don't set those deadlines. And so things can just spin and spin and spin. You can design for an eternity before you finish something. But if I set myself a deadline, I will spin and spin to that point. And then when the deadline's there, I'll have a solution.
And the deadline being either time or money, right?
Yeah. I mean,
money is a constraint, just like time. And if you've got, X dollars to solve a project, you need to know it up front versus thinking you've got $2X or any of those pieces.
Maybe even a bigger suggestion is when you do hire your designer, architect, whoever it is, give them your budget. Tell them how much you want to spend. Don't hem and haw about it. Know how much you want to spend going in, because I can design to that amount.
So I guess here's the question there. I mean, everybody wants to spend the least amount of money possible without seeming cheap. Right. So how do you even go about discussing a budget where you you just I want to be realistic, but I'm afraid that if I say X number, I'm going to get taken to the cleaners. And if I say, half that number, you're going to laugh at me and say like, ha ha ha, that's ridiculous. How,
right. Well, you can spend what you can spend. Right. That's what I'm saying. Just be honest about it. Don't tell me that don't withhold $20,000, because I know that extra $20,000 is there for a sponge and you're holding it back. I know that we need that sponge in the end. I know that we need to build in 10, 15, 20% more than we expect. So let me design toward that, and knowing that extra is there, not perceiving that I have to hold back some more money from your budget because of the unknowns.
Because then it becomes this cat and mouse game, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But, I can design to any budget. And we know going in, like if you tell me you have set amount, we're not going to go to Roche Bobois or something that's super expensive, and we're going to go somewhere that's a little
less
lower on the totem pole.
Right.
And, or, we don't want to do custom.
Right.
Or maybe we do. If you have got enough money to do custom throughout, let's go for it.
What's the smallest project you've ever done?
If I do a consultation, someone's working with a contractor and they want me to just help them pick some tile, or they want to me to just do color palette for paint throughout, that kind of thing. I love those too. Like I'll do an entire house, gut remodel, structural changes throughout, windows changing, to just a paint consultation. It's all designed, so I like it.
No job too small?
No.
No job too large?
No. Well, maybe too large. There are limits.
So this has been awesome. I've enjoyed learning so much about what you do and kind of how you approach it. Final thoughts, things you want to say, open mic. It's all you, Sawyers Design.
Oh my goodness. What does one say? I think that design is something that can, like, no project too small, no project too large. I feel like people, just look around you, take note of the space that you live in and see if there's some way that you could change your life for the better through minimal interior changes. Just take note and do something for yourself. It's a treat. It's just like working out. It's just like eating well. If the space that you live in should reflect who you are and invoke your personality. So I just challenge everybody to make that a little more obvious.
So when people are ready to hire you, where do they find you?
SawyersDesign.com.
Spell it.
Best place. SAWYERS, like Tom Sawyer, but with an S on the end. SawyersDesign.com.
Awesome. And you've got your portfolio up there. It's some amazing work as well.
With a new website.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Kevin Sawyers. Sawyers Interior Design.
Thanks, Matt.
Or Sawyers Design. Escrow Out Loud is a weekly podcast about San Francisco real estate from the Jackson Fuller team, San Francisco Realtors since 2002. Show notes with links are at jacksonfuller.com.